Well, first of all, very, very warm welcome to Harrison. Thank you so much. No problem, Luke. Thank you so much for making time. It's going to be a fantastic session. You are the very first guest on here. So, welcome to the Hybrid Dad Accelerator program for ambitious dads who are already crushing it in life. And we're just all trying to level up at least another level, if not two or three. So what we've planned tonight is, we've got a very special guest. Some of you know him, some of you don't. So we'll take care of that in a minute. But we'll have a bit of a Q&A for myself. So we'll do a bit of a fireside chat, and then we'll open it up to you guys. So during the conversation, if you have questions for Harrison or whatever might come up, note them down. As I said, about 40 minutes in, we'll open up, and you guys can ask some questions, and we have an open discussion. I think that's going to be really, really fun. But to start off with, a lot of people here know you, but not everybody. So, Harrison, if you wouldn't mind giving a bit of a tour of your life for a few minutes, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm happy. Always thrilled to talk about my favorite subject, which is myself. So I I'm in North Carolina. I was raised here, USA, and um, went to undergraduate law school, and after law school went into the startup world. I never practiced law. I graduated and went straight into a sports marketing startup in Nashville, Tennessee, and did that job. Got married. Was there for several years, and kind of thought like, I'm doing this. I'm taking the traditional path. Going to have a career. Had a boss who was the founder of the company, and was just kind of going to work my way up, and that's what I was going to do. And then COVID hit. Oh, Aaron Quiggle's here too. Man, this is just the all-star team. COVID hit, and that startup, our revenue went from $10 million to $2 million overnight. This was 2020, as everybody remembers. And I had to lay off my entire team one day in May of 2020. And these were people that I'd kind of handpicked, and they were my friends at that point, and we had built this company together. And I had to tell them that that they were out of a job. That same month in May, our first son was born. Look, I always share this. This is our crew. I'm not like Toby. We have three, but this is our oldest, who's five, 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And
Beautiful.
thank you. Our oldest was born May 2020, the same week, literally, that I had to lay off my team at the startup. And all you guys are dads, I think, right? We're all dads here. So you remember when you have that first baby, like we always say, like the moms have their nesting thing that they go through. They got to get the nursery ready and get order the clothes and plan everything, and that's great. I think dads have a version of that too. And I think ours is much more on the just hardwired psychologically from evolution. It's like, oh my gosh, I got to take care of this family. I gotta make it happen for this family. And so I'm having these feelings as our son was born, and right on the back of like this company that I joined that I'd helped build for years, 5 years at that point. Well, I didn't feel very secure because of the state of the world. And so I'm having this dad nesting instinct of, I got to get something else going. I have to figure out how to not depend on this company anymore, because it's not as safe as I thought. And so I did what any red-blooded American man would do in 2020. I started posting on Twitter, and I thought, surely if I just post, if I just make good Twitter posts, if I just post enough, that post step one, make Twitter posts, step two, big question mark, step three, profit. And that was the idea. And surprisingly, the follower account that I had on that account was called Save Your Sons, and I just started posting thoughts I had as a new dad and things I wanted my little boy to know as he grew up. Those thoughts, other people liked them, and the account grew really quickly. And by 2021, 6 or 7 months later, I found myself with like 40,000 followers. No idea what I was doing, no idea why, but people liked what I was writing, and they were reading what I was writing every day. And so I kind of now at this point, I was like, my son was going to turn 1 soon, and I had all these followers, and I was like, well, if you haven't monetized it yet, like, what are you doing? What are you waiting for? So I started a journey in call it May of 2021. Was I think the first product I ever launched online, to figure out how to become an independent, autonomous entrepreneur, someone that could provide for my family without needing a company or needing a boss, and a solopreneur. That was what I wanted to be. And right at that same time, I was still working at my company, and this was May of 2021, so a year after I had let my entire team go, a year after my son was born, and I was traveling for my company right around the time my son was going to have his first birthday. And I get a FaceTime call from my wife. I'm staying in this crappy hotel in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Anybody from the U.S. knows Myrtle Beach. It's like it's like Atlantic City without the gambling, but like even more of the Atlantic City parts. That's what Myrtle Beach is. And I'm all by myself, away from my family, and I get this call from my wife. And on FaceTime, I see my son taking his very first steps, as a little boy. And at first, I'm excited, but then I realized what's actually happening is I'm away. I'm missing this precious moment with my family, and it's because I'm traveling for this company that I no longer believed was safe and believed was secure, and this just reinforced this desire to figure it out on my own. So that's what I did, and fast forward to 2022, I tried a million different things. Finally, the thing that stuck was when I started selling to other businesses skills that I developed in my career, usually on the operational or marketing side. And I tried a bunch of different things in between there, and concurrent with that. But I realized that the best path for me was taking skills that I already had and just learning how to package them up and sell them to generally to other businesses. And as soon as I did that, I felt like the biggest genius ever. I was like, I cracked the code, but I took a step back and realized I basically just reverse engineered consulting. That was my big innovation. Just kind of invented consulting for the 4,000th time. And once that had clicked for me, I had the main way I was monetizing it at that point was through content marketing and agency that I developed. And I had several business clients, and I was helping grow their revenue through making content for them on social media. And was doing a few other things at the time, but my income had far surpassed my job. So I left my job in 2022, and I've been out on my own ever since. And funny thing happened was more and more people, I would talk about it on Twitter or talk about it on Instagram, and people kept asking me, that's how Toby and I met. This was right around that time. They go like, how did you do that? How did you, how did you leave your job? I want to leave my job, right? Or I want additional income, or whatever it is. I want to build this brand that I can then leverage to have additional security for my family. And so I started teaching people how I did it. And finally in 2024, took all of that knowledge. I've been doing it one-on-one for years, 2 years at that point. Guys like Toby, we were working together, and a bunch of other people, and took everything I learned and codified it into what is now the only business that I have, and that's the CTS, Clients Through Social Incubator. And that's what we do. We help dads take skills they're already good at and learn how to sell them to people who can benefit from those skills. And it's been a blast. I've learned, I think of entrepreneurship as kind of the final boss of being a man. You get in your early 20s, like a lot of us go through this self-improvement phase. You kind of realize I'm out on my own now for the first time. I'm gonna get in shape. This is what a lot of us do first. It's like, I'm gonna take control of my health, and then we master that, and we say, well, now I got to find a wife. I want a partner to share this life with. So we kind of go learn how to be successful in our relationships, and then maybe a kid comes along. You're like, well, now I need to figure out how to be a good dad. And I think the top of the mountain for me, like the last piece was this: how can I do all of those things while also earning and supporting my family independently, so that I'm not relying on other people to tell me how much I'm worth. I want to be the one who's in control of that, and that's a lifelong journey. I think it's a lot like health. It's a lot like relationships. It's a lot like faith. You know, you're constantly reevaluating your progress and constantly getting better. You're never finished, and that's the journey that I'm on. And I like hanging out. The only people I like hanging out with are dads and entrepreneurs. And if they're an entrepreneur dad, even better. So that's the only people I have anything in common with. And so I set up a business where that's who I hang out with all the time.
Awesome. Awesome. What a story. Um, I think I've heard a version of this before, but never that well told. And also, like it's just so relatable on so many fronts. Even if your journey, I think, has been different, but like the ups and downs you went through are, yeah, just superb to be listening to that. So thank you for that. So I'm gonna just give you like I'm gonna try and batch my questions so they kind of follow a similar pattern. So when I started talking to the group here, one of the first questions I asked them, I mean, we did an exercise to kind of see where their biggest gaps are in terms of where they want to be and where they currently see themselves on a kind of scale from 1 to 10, as well as one of the biggest areas that causes concern. And you've touched upon it quite heavily here, which is finances, right? So a lot of the dads on this call, as well as, we're obviously recording this, and for anybody listening to it afterwards, that kind of financial breathing room is like a really important one for them. So in terms of first steps, you said, for you, it was like, well, Twitter, question mark, more money. Um, but if they, if they're hearing it now, and obviously there's a lot of people here that have heard you talk about this quite at length. But for those who haven't heard you before, what would you say is like the first small step they should take to create a more financial breathing room?
Yeah, I totally identify with anyone who's feeling that. And I probably differ from a lot of the quote unquote gurus, whatever. You can call me that if you want. That's fine. That you see on the internet. In that I actually do believe that a 9 to 5 job is an incredible, a career is an incredible wealth building tool. And I think anyone who has a career that they can stomach should stay as long as they possibly can. That's number one is I think most of us here probably most of you guys listening, if you are in a 9 to 5, like that's great, and if you like it, then even better. And my recommendation is keep it as long as you want, as long as you can, and continue to advance and continue to develop. Take it really seriously, especially if it's a skilled job where you're driving revenue, or you're increasing profit by making a company more efficient, or you're uh, addressing significant risk, like anything that can be tied to the bottom line of a company. That's where these valuable skills really become powerful and exponentially more valuable. And so what I would recommend to anybody is keep that, but don't depend on it. Don't make it the only thing, because I think there's this myth that like a career, a corporate job, or a company, hitching your wagon to a company is the safe thing to do. I think that's kind of the prevailing wisdom generally in society, is that I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to be conservative, and I'm going to just stick with this company and not not stick my head up, not make waves. Like this is the safe path. And I think that's where the risk actually comes in. I think that's the issue, is treating it like it's this thing that can never go away. I mean, the 1950s and 60s and 70s, even 80s and 90s, those days are gone. The sweet pensions and the just steady corporate trajectory, I think they're gone, and I don't think they're ever coming back. So while I do think this career is a standard traditional career is a great thing to have, what I caution guys against is making that, especially if you're a dad and you're kind of the lead breadwinner in a family. I caution against making that the only source of income that you have. And so my step one would be, um, figure out a way to get something else going. I think every man who who wants to earn more, the first thing they should do is look at how they can have an additional income stream. The first thing they should do is not how can I get a 3-5% raise from my company, or how can I go find another job and get a 10% pay bump. The first thing you should do is, well, what else can I do with the hours that I'm not at the office? And that's what I recommend doing first. And the best place to look for that is, well, why does your current company pay you? They pay you for a reason. They pay you because you're profitable. What do you do that makes them profitable? And if you can do it for them, you can do it for other people. And that's the most consistent profitable path that I've seen guys take. It's basically what I did in a very roundabout way, and that's what I would recommend is keep your job if you can stomach it for as long as you can. That's also what I did. I kept it for a long time while I was doing things on the side, and build yourself the optionality. Don't get stuck having this one single point of failure. Keep that job, but add to it. Build laterally, and that's the advice that I would give any dad who's thinking about that.
That's awesome. Great take. Um, while you were talking there, I was thinking of a few of the dads that I've coached on a one-to-one basis, and something that comes up quite often is that people have a pull to do their own thing. So they have, as you said, they have developed a skill. They might be like at a kind of VP level, and they have exactly the same kind of issue that you're talking about, which is I want to have more freedom to decide how and when I work, and I don't mind even working early hours or late hours, but I want to be there when the kids come home. I want to be there for the dance recital, all of that stuff. Um, but in your from your experience, what's this? What are the kind of biggest mindset shifts that you would say dads need to be aware of when you're starting that entrepreneurial journey? So, being in a kind of 9 to 5 setting and somebody telling you what to do, even if you're in a leadership position, you still have guidelines and KPIs and all of that stuff. You know, you've got a company with values and all of that that you're following. But then suddenly doing that entrepreneurial thing, you know, people see it online and they think, oh, that's easy. So I just need to, you know, maybe post online or just find somebody. Um, but I think there's so much going on between the ears that really trips people up. So what would you say are like A, obstacles, and B, how can they overcome those kind of mindset problems?
Yeah, it's funny. Like Luke and I talk about this all the time, and Toby, you and I talk about it too. But like the first myth to dispel is that if you want to support yourself absent a company, the first myth to dispel is that it's just easy. And or like anyone who tries to tell you like there's this passive dream of passive income, like that is a total lie. You can maybe have passive income if you buy 1 million shares of AT&T, and then you'll have some dividends. And like that's okay. I'll admit that that's maybe passive, but until then, work is how you earn, and uh, especially if you want to like build something big. Like I think most guys can earn an extra $5,000 to $10,000 on the side in a few hours a day. Like that's I've seen that. I've done that myself. I think that's very manageable. But the bigger you get, it's going to scale up. The time is going to scale up. There's just no way around that, or no way that I've seen. Maybe somebody's figured it out, not me. Get lucky, buy Bitcoin in 2012. Other than that, so so to dispel that myth that like there's just an easy button you can push and like you earn an extra 10,000 a month. I've never seen that. I don't believe that's true. The the then the trade-off that you make is like for me when I look back to my company, like I was working hard for my company. I was traveling 12 15 times a year on the weekends, so working those weekends while also traveling. And I was doing 50 even 60-hour weeks pretty consistently. So like the volume of work that I was doing was a lot, but the trade-off that I had was not necessarily that the job was secure. It was that it wasn't all on me. And if we're being honest, like I was working a lot, I was traveling a lot, it was demanding, I had a lot of responsibilities, but there were days where I could just phone it in totally. And I think most of us, if we're being honest, at almost any company, traditional job, there are times where you're not really pushing. Like even the demanding stuff, like lawyers complaining, I work 80 hours a week. Like, okay, but like, I know those guys. I know that there's hours in those days where you're working, but you're not. Um, that is the thing that goes away, especially in the early days. If you're doing this solo, is this safety net of like, well, I can phone it in and I'm still going to get paid. Not anymore. Not if you're on your own, and not if you're relying on generating your own income, which is how everybody starts doing the type of stuff that we do. And so that to me is what you're trading. So I work a lot now. I work a lot now because I'm trying to, we have certain goals of the incubator, and I'm trying to get there. Um, I probably work the same amount that I was working back at my company in terms of hours on the clock. The difference is that the trade-off is, yes, it's more on me. Yes, I shoulder the responsibility. If I don't produce, nothing happens. The benefit that I get, that what I get in the trade, is that I decide when. So there is never a time where I have to do something at the expense of something else that I want to do. I never, like, if my kids are doing something and I want to go to it, I'm going. I don't care who wants to talk to me. There, nobody can tell me that I can't do it. And that to me is worth more than anything. I think that's worth more than any amount of money, is that optionality to just, I can take an entire day off if I want. I may not earn that day, or I may be a day behind in my business growth goals, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. I can do it, and nobody can tell me not to. And that's the biggest, that's the trade-off, is that freedom where I don't have a boss who can dictate how I spend my time, and that's great. But I don't have a boss who can dictate how I spend my time, which means I have to be the disciplined one, and I have to make sure that I get it in when it matters. Um, I'm not sure if that answers most of your question, Toby. The other mindset piece that I've seen really hold people back. Well, there's so many mindset pieces that I think but what they all boil down to is some version of fear. I think they all boil down to some version of fear. And we see that fear manifest in a lot of different ways. Sometimes it manifests in procrastination. So it's working really hard on the wrong things. And there's a couple really important things that you don't do, and you convince yourself that, well, no, I got to do this other stuff first, when like that stuff's not paying you. And the thing that is paying you is right here, and you know how to do it, and you know what to do, but you're not doing it because you convince yourself that you need to do this other stuff instead. And ultimately that comes down to some form of fear. And it usually comes down, a lot of the times it manifests itself in selling, and having sales conversations. I see that very frequently. That's a fear of rejection. It's a imposter syndrome, which is totally based in fear. It's a fear of failure, even a fear of success. What if they say yes and they find out that I'm not as good as I think I am? And that to me is the biggest limiting factor for anyone who wants to do the type of thing that we talk about doing every day in the incubator. I always say the tactics and the strategies only get you so far. There's a million ways to build a business. There's a million ways to build a business, and probably 500,000 of them work. like there's the tactics are not the magic. The magic is in overcoming the fear and actually doing what you need to do, and the magic lies in changing the default behaviors that hold you back. The last thing I'll say on this, Toby, is like the analogy that we always talk about is, if tactics were all that mattered, well, let's say somebody's really overweight. Say somebody's got 50 pounds to lose. Well, the tactics to lose that weight are very simple. Just don't eat so much. That's really it. Don't eat so much. Stop eating. End of education. End of instruction. Just don't do it. But 70% of the population in the US, at least, is overweight. Everybody knows how to lose weight. It's not a secret. It's not some magic formula. It's not some like there's this one diet that works, and if you just try this one diet, that's going to unlock everything for you. No, it's a thermodynamics, man. It's calories in, calories out in 99.9% of cases, unless you have a thyroid condition. So that's what it is. But we still see so many people overweight, and that's proof to me that the education and the tactics and the how do you do it is not the limiting factor. That's not enough. What matters is being able to change behaviors. And like the weight loss example, you can know, everybody knows, if I want to lose weight, I have to eat less food. But then 9 o'clock comes around and you're stressed out from your day and you're thinking, wouldn't it be nice to just have a bowl of ice cream? Wouldn't that feel good for a few seconds? And then all of a sudden, those tactics go out the window. They get overrun by whatever this trauma is that you're working through, or this overactive dopamine reward pathway that's pushing you to consume sugar. That takes the driver's seat, and the education around how to lose weight doesn't matter. And it's the same thing with something like entrepreneurship. The path is the path, and there's other ways to do it, and a lot of them work. But when it comes time to actually do it, we have this unresolved thing, this unresolved fear. Like, wouldn't it be nice to just eat ice cream instead? And that's what holds people back more than, well, here's the secret formula that nobody knows about.
Man, that was good. That was powerful. I just saw nodding heads all around. Awesome, awesome take. Um, and interesting because I was gonna go into kind of physical fitness in a second. So good segue there. Um, but one thing that also came to my mind when you were speaking in terms of fear, and it very much sits alongside it, is a lot of the times, again, w when I speak to my clients, is and again, as I said, it stems from fear, but I find oftentimes it's an issue with them giving themselves permission, right? Like permission to actually excel, a permission to try something new, a permission to just ask the question, like, what if? Like, what if, what if I do this? Like, what happens? Um, and I always think, maybe it sounds a bit mystical, but there's a parallel version of you where you didn't make that decision or where you made that decision, right? I mean, that's all possible. So for dads who are working a 9 to 5, there is a version of that of you that in a year's time also has a side business, and that you can make that a reality, but you just need to put yourself out there, right? I mean, if we had never crossed paths, or even if we did and I never contacted you, then I would be sitting here and this conversation wouldn't be happening. And these 20 plus dads that are in this group, they wouldn't know each other necessarily. Maybe some of them would, but they wouldn't be here tonight and we wouldn't be listening to you. So, I would just say, like, if that is you, if you feel like, oh, I don't know if I can give myself permission to try this out, you should, because you never know what the ripple effects are. You never know what good you can do by providing the service, by building the community, by just getting out there and telling your story. Um, yeah. So, but then let's make a quick shift, because you were talking about physical fitness kind of already with the diet, and I remember the very first time we spoke. So, for most people that have seen you or spoken to you, they probably would have come across you with like your picture there, your in your bio, your name. I didn't have that luxury, so I had this Andy Griffith character. So I didn't know whether you were like an 80-year-old overweight person, or, I don't know who you were. You could have been like a 15-year-old girl. I don't know, right? No idea. So when we jumped on this call and this guy, then, suddenly the video camera went on, I was like, man, that's like that's a buff dude. Like, that's like, I was really impressed by the first time we spoke. So that is something that's always stuck with me. It's like, you're very disciplined with your business, but you also take care of yourself physically. And that's something that in this group has been also voiced as something that people always want to work on. And it's a real struggle, right? I mean, if you've got a 9 to 5, maybe you're building a side business, or you're thinking about something else. You've got a wife, you've got kids, you've got hobbies. How do you do it? Like, how do you stay physically fit and disciplined with your diet and all of that? Like, give us your secrets.
Oh man. Um, yeah, I think that's the same. It's the same idea, Toby. It's a lifelong commitment. And as soon as you start thinking about it as, I'm never going to be finished. I'm never, I only get old when I quit. If I quit, that's the end. And then I know that there's going to be days where I do eat the ice cream and I do eat the pizza and I do skip the gym, but they can never turn into multiple days. And that's something I've stuck with since law school in my early 20s, when I first started trying to get in shape. And do I train like a professional bodybuilder? Of course not. That would be a full-time job. And I think what a lot of us have to do is understand what's sustainable versus what is um, what might work in the short term but fall apart in the long term. And that's something that is, again, it's a never-ending journey. You're constantly testing, you're constantly trying new things. For me, a recent thing that I've done that's working, because we just moved into this house, and moving with three little kids is difficult. Our oldest started school at the same time. We had kept our old house, so we're trying to find tenants for that, which means we have to get some work done on that. And it's just all these things happening at once. I didn't go to the gym for a few weeks, and instead of eating the food that I normally ate, I ate the food my kids were eating for a few weeks. And I got to a point where this is like I'm this is like the longest I've fallen off. Like, this is the longest. And I understood why it was happening, because all of this life changes. Like, you can't advance on two fronts at once. Ask any general, military general. Like, you pick one front and that's your priority, and then you maintain the other fronts. And I believe that's true with with fitness and entrepreneurship and self improvement. Like, pick one front that you're all in on, and maintain the others. Don't try to advance on multiple fronts at once. And for a while, the front I was advancing on is not fitness and health. It was purely entrepreneurship, and then, like, second priority was being there for my kids. So you be smart, and you think, well, like, what's how can I shake this up? How can I shake out of this rut? And for years, my routine at our old house was, I wake up at 5, first one awake. I go take a hot shower, because that helps me wake up, not a cold shower. I don't do that. But a hot shower helps me wake up, kind of a nice thing to look forward to. I drink my caffeine, and then I go to the gym, and I'd be at the gym by 5:36. And I could get a nice workout in before the kids woke up. I'd be home in time to cook them breakfast. I'd cook them eggs, and we'd eat breakfast together as a family. And that was the routine for years. And I fell out of that routine when we moved in August. So I said, well, what, like, I need something. I need something to shake me out of this. And I realized what was happening was, I was really with this new house, new bedroom, new routine. My alarm would go off at 5, and I would, half asleep, subconsciously press snooze, and then I would fall back asleep immediately, and then it would go off again 10 minutes later, and I'd press snooze again. And the next thing you know, I'm waking up at 6 instead of 5, and I don't have time to go to the gym. And I would just say, okay, well, didn't make it happen today. That's okay. It's a marathon. It's forever. I'll get back on the horse. But enough of that happens, and I need something else. So what I actually did, this is a hack that has worked for me so far, is I bought a separate alarm clock. I put it inside my shower. And so in order for me to turn off the alarm that rings at 5, I have to actually get inside the shower. And well, then you're there, like, you might as well turn the water on, and now you're awake. And that's what works for me now. So I think you have to be adaptable, and be honest with yourself. If something that has worked is no longer working, change in environment, change in circumstances. Just know this is a forever thing, and I'm going to figure it out, and shake it up, shake yourself out of that routine, and you'll find the next thing that can help you lock in. And yeah, like the Jetsons, like, it'll help you lock in. And that's been my tack. Like, just try to be creative on helping you. Like, you're never going to find the thing that works forever, but you're going to find the thing that keeps you advancing for 6 months, a year, even 2 years, and then something will change, and you just have to. Well, I'm adaptable. What's my next way about this? And that's what's kept me reasonably consistent for whatever it's been, 13 years now.
Awesome. I like that. I like that. I always think with physical fitness, it's worthwhile to think not just of the gym, but like the additional benefit in terms of exercise. Um, if you want to stick with it, right? So on the one hand, either you pursue like a sport that you just love going because it's the guys in the gym, it's the team, or you're just having a ball playing whatever sport it is. Or if it is a gym, like what you were doing, to say, look, this is something that's like my me space, right? I mean, you're busy all day long, you're on calls all day long, you're selling your product, you're taking care of the family. To say, look, the morning is just so essential because it just helps me just connect with myself. So it is way more than just lifting weights. Um, before I open it up for the guys, I've got a deep question, but it can be quick. It depends on you if you've thought about this before or not. But what does success as a father and a husband look like for you today?
Oh man. Um, yeah, I've definitely thought about it. In one word, it's independence. It's independence. It's not relying on another person. And that's been kind of the theme of my adult life is how can I be as independent as humanly possible? And that's another journey that lasts forever. But I always had this big problem with depending on a boss to pay me so that I could feed my family. And that never sat right with me. It can be one of the ways I make money, but I couldn't be the only way. And that I think to be a successful entrepreneur, you almost have to have this sort of irrational, independent streak where you're so stubborn that like I'm just not going to accept um, this position of where I'm relying on someone else to take care of me and mine. And to me, that everyone defines success differently, and everyone's definition is valid. My definition of success is: am I independent enough to where I can do what I want any given hour of the day? I make the decision, and no one else. That's the yardstick I'm measuring against.
Powerful, powerful. What I would say to that is for everybody here, if you can give an answer to that question as quickly as Harrison, well done. That's awesome. Guys, if you want, just raise your hand because I don't want to just unmute yourself and have four people speak at the same time. But there was so much here already. If you've given us so many bits of wisdom, but I'm sure you guys have questions of your own that you want to put in. So if you just raise your digital fingers, your digital hand, and then we'll call you. And if you're all too afraid, I've got tons more questions. Let's see. We've got a
I,
brave
s-
soul. Yeah,
I still can't figure out how to raise my hand on Zoom. I've been on Zoom for years. Anyway, I'll jump in since there's a
awesome.
pause. As you're going about on your own, you've got some exposure in the world. Like price setting for your services is one thing when you're, you know, not providing for a family, but as you're like providing for a family and you're like, do I overcharge? Do I undercharge? Could you talk at all about your journey if you like went over that as far as like business planning with the family, or if you had an entrepreneur group, or you were just throwing spaghetti at the wall and see what stuck? Is that something you'd be willing to speak to?
Like deciding how much to charge.
Yeah, deciding how much you would charge as you were building up your, sort of independent practice or your side hustle that became a full-time side hustle.
Yeah, it's definitely throwing spaghetti at the wall at the beginning. I do think I'm a big believer in having whatever you're doing in life, and for me, I'm doing entrepreneurship. Like I'm all in, and I know I'm way better than I was 3 years ago. And 3 years from now, I'm gonna be way better than I am now, and that's just gonna happen forever. That's the goal. And I think if whatever your thing is that you're doing, you need other people that are doing the same thing because nobody else understands it. Nobody else gets it. Like that, if I talk to someone who's never had an entrepreneurial thought in their life, like it's like we're speaking a different language. And like I'm so excited to talk about business and like I'll talk about like did you know that I just found this out. Like Pokemon is the highest grossing media franchise of all time. It's 150 billion and it's three times more gross revenue in its lifetime than even Star Wars. And like I'm just like constantly thinking about business. And like you say that to somebody who doesn't think about that, like what are you talking about? Who cares? And I've I've uh, I've learned that I need an outlet for that, and so that's why I hang out with guys like Toby, like other people who's thinking about this stuff. And I recommend that whatever your thing is, like you need people to talk to. But when it comes to like specific, actually pricing my services at the beginning, I didn't really know. I wanted it to always be fair. I wanted it to be fair, and that's what we teach inside the incubator too. Is the easiest thing in the world to sell is money at a discount. That's the easiest thing in the world to sell. And so if you can tie what you're doing to some sort of ROI that's realistic and within reach, well then, and that could be health, that can be, I mean, even like can you quantify the value of a nice spindrift? Usually it's going to be somehow attached to, well, is the price enough to where I can afford to do it? And is it high enough for that? And is it low enough to where people can reasonably see it as valuable? And when people are making a value determination in their head, what they're really doing is just saying, is this worth it? Will this pay off? Is there a chance that this will pay off? And I think most good businesses nail that, and it takes a lot of trial and error. Most bad businesses don't. My favorite example is I'm in the education industry at the end of the day, and you look at what our services cost versus like the potential ROI on that versus what an MBA program costs. It's 5 times more, 10 times more, no, 20 times more. And like, what's the ROI on that versus the ROI on ours? And I think that part of the education industry is going to fall apart soon. I think the higher education. Yeah, I say this as somebody with an advanced degree. I think it's greatly overpriced, and so I think you have to just think in terms of would the average person see the potential. They're not thinking about it as, will I get an ROI on this? They're thinking about it, is it worth it? But what that means is there an ROI on this? And if you can help show them that that's true, then you're probably priced right.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. Aziz, you went up next. Let's get you on.
Thank you, Harrison. Thank you for being here and sharing your story. My question is in relation to enough. How do you know you're enough? Entrepreneurship can take 120 hours a week. How do you how do you also pick your fronts? You were talking about fronts. You need to focus. Have you thought like, oh, I need to give entrepreneurship all in for the next 3 months, then switch? How do you think about these different areas? So family, entrepreneurship, fitness, religion, whatever. How do you see progress and track it and say, okay, I need to adjust here and there?
How do I kind of prioritize it?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm big on the like there's seasons for everything. Um and it kind of depends on what you want. And like the season I'm in right now, I'm in a heavy season. I'm working every night till 10 right now. Because that's what I want. And if I want to get the incubator where I need it to be, where I want it to be, well, I have to update the entire curriculum, and that's what I'm doing every night. Kids go down, I'm right here. I'm working. My wife and I'll have a little connection time after that, and then I'm going to bed, and I'm waking up at 5, and I'm doing it over again. That's weekends too. So like, don't get this false idea that like, oh, you're free, you work 2 hours a day, and you fully support your family. I just don't see that. I don't think that's reasonable. I think you have to understand that like right now, the goals we have for the incubator, I can't work a normal 9 to 5 schedule and achieve those. There just isn't enough time, and there never will be enough time. And I understand that. And I know it's not forever, but it's probably till the end of this year. Probably. But okay, do I want it? Yes. Well, then what do you have to do to get it? And why are you complaining? Okay, I guess I shouldn't complain. I can either do, I can either complain and not have it, or I can just do the things I know will give it to me and get it. And when I think about it like that, it's a pretty easy trade-off. I think knowing that it's not forever helps. I think if you told me like I have to work till 10 for the rest of my life, I'd probably change what I want. But knowing that I have to work till 10 every night for a few months to get to the level that I want to get to, that's a trade I'm willing to make. And it's like anything else, dude. It's like we were just talking about with Thomas. It's like, is it worth it? Is the trade-off worth it? And only you guys can answer that. But to me, that yeah, it's worth it. Yeah, it's worth it because this is what I want to be doing, and I'm not sacrificing time with my kids to do it. I am on the health front. Probably is my biggest area of sacrifice right now. Um, Mostly sleep. But that's I mean, I got three kids, five and under. Like I'm not gonna sleep anyway, so might as well just do this thing. And that's kind of how I came to the priority that I have right now. Is that helpful? What else can I add?
No, that's helpful because when you talked about fitness, like you can be a bodybuilder and go a full-time job in the gym.
Oh yeah.
And like when we see life, life is not about one thing. It's we have five, six things we're juggling. And it takes, deep reflection to think, okay, this season is about this. And I'll try to end the season at the end of the year or something like that. It's just some seasons, look like they're short, but sometimes they take forever.
Yeah, I think if my goal was to be, what's his name, Bumstead, like that dude, like I'm not working on my business till 10 o'clock at night. I'm freaking in the gym, and I'm and I'm working on and I'm meal prepping or my next cocktail of anabolics uh, prepped, and that's what I'm doing, and so it's just what is the thing I do think we all need as men. I think we need something. Like I think if we're not looking forward to the future, we made a big mistake somewhere. And to me, that's always been like I'm going after this thing. I'm going after it, whether it's graduating law school or it was um, getting advancing in my first career or getting in shape or like there's a thing I'm doing right now. And you get close, you get there, and you're like, this is great. Now, what's the next thing? Is it more of this? Is it the next thing? And that's I think I would challenge everybody to be like, what is the thing that gets you excited for tomorrow? And if there's nothing, that's where you have a big problem. And to me, it's usually around what am I building right now? What am I improving right now? I think we're hardwired to look for ways to improve the world, or the world and the world around us and in our own world. And as long as we're getting better in some area that is important to us, that's what keeps men alive. And that's something that's going through my entire life is, well, what is my thing right now? What am I getting better at? Because I want to win, and I want to reach the potential that God gave me in as many different areas as I can. And you need to fight for it. You need to understand that if it matters, you'll find the time and you'll put in the effort.
Nice. There was one part of Aziz's question in the beginning, which was about being enough, or the kind of the question of enough. So I just want to throw that in there because you were saying working till 10 at the moment, and I think for a lot of the guys here who are very busy with one or two jobs, that's a really important point to for them to know. What you're building is awesome, but it just takes that much time of away from other things for you. But do you have like a clear marker where okay, this is this journey that I'm on with my business now, but once I have done X and it's like a clear marker, then I can stop working till 10 because then I can focus or shift my attention to something else because that will be important. Like, do you have that?
I do. I don't know that it really is like meaningful. I've always had like, all right, I hit my first 10,000 month, my first 20,000 month, my first 50,000 month, and like every time I hit that, it's like, okay, like, and you work for so long to do it, and then like, all right, now what? So I'm not under the illusion that like once I have X dollars, I'll be good. I don't think that's really how it works. But I do have kind of like a like a measuring stick that I think about is just like if I no longer think about money, I'll have enough. And I don't know what that number is. I know that there's like a certain amount that I could have invested in the stock market where that would be true, barring global economic collapse, which is always a possibility. But really, it's just I don't know. I kind of go off like, do I feel like I did the thing? Do I feel like I've reached my potential? And am I still enjoying it enough to continue to do it? If yes, like let's go. This is what living is. If no, let's do another exercise where I reprioritize.
Yeah, nice. I guess that's where independence comes in, right? Because if you can measure success as also being financially independent, then you have the freedom to choose to pursue that or not. Jay, my man.
Yeah, hey Harrison, good to see you, man.
What's up, dude?
Oh, good, oh, good. Listen, I just wanted to circle back, and I think it's related to the previous question as well around like balance and finding balance between like, building a business and still working a full-time job, and like you touched on it, and you did that for a long time until you could like step away from the job. Like how did you manage that, and how like what is the best way to make sure that things don't fall apart or you get fired before the business takes off?
Yeah, I think like how did I manage it? I mean, I can tell you what I did exactly. It was a solid 16 months of 4 extra hours a day, on top of my 9 to 5, which is 4 a.m. wake up calls, taking sales calls at 9, 10 o'clock at night, um, including weekends, no vacations, 2 kids under 2 at the time. And that was 16 months. And I know people that have done way more. And I could have done it less. I don't think I needed to do that much because I think I was doing a lot of things wrong. That hopefully guys that work with me don't. They have the benefit of my mistakes. They don't have to make those mistakes. So I think that may have been a little on the extreme side. But again, like I said, I know people who have done way more, to get that independence, to break free. Um, as far as what keeps it from falling apart, um, I definitely had moments on that journey and even after where I felt like I was a little crazy. Like my wife will attest, like not never serious, never needed like medical intervention, but like brief periods in time where I'm just like I'm losing my mind doing this. This is really hard. This is really hard. This may sound cheap or tacky, but like or hokey, but what truly does help me is if I start feeling pity on myself, like man, this is so hard. I think about the fact that I got a toilet right over there that flushes. I got food down the street at the grocery store. I got a car that'll drive me anywhere I need to go. All my kids are healthy because we have modern medicine and interventions that help kids be healthy. And I'm not living in 1300 Germany, worried about the Black Plague. Uh, my ancestors were. Toby's ancestors were. We're not. Like it's not that hard. It's not that hard. And when I put that in perspective, I realize, okay, you stay up at night and take a sales call at 10 p.m. Like at least I don't have to worry about a wolf barging through my door and attacking my family. And like I said, it may sound like cheesy and tacky, but that really is true. And if I just take a minute to remind myself, like nothing that we're doing, we're fortunate. We live in the most prosperous time in human history, and it's not close. And when I hear people talk about like society is falling apart, like there's things that are bad, but we don't have the bubonic plague. We don't have, God willing, we don't have a world war that we're dealing with right now, and that puts it in perspective for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's so important for a lot of us who our working life is confined to, that little screen in front of us, to actually step out and actually really look at the bigger picture. I love that. Steve, you're going to be our last question for the night.
Hey, Steve.
Just a quick one, because obviously you've got a lot of work to do. You've lost
Hey,
an
no,
hour of your evening.
tonight is PTA whatever night at the school, so I'm doing that. We're hanging out, I'm meeting the teacher and all that.
Oh,
Okay.
amazing. Lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you mentioned when you were talking about when you started your business, making contact with other people and talking to other people who are entrepreneurs and who are like-minded and whatever. But I just wondered now that you're in your business and fully into it, how much of your week do you spend still doing that, like networking and keeping in touch with those people and the business related relationships, like keeping them going?
Yeah, I have a group that meets once a month for an hour and a half. We're all over the North America, and we meet, and we're all kind of like at the same level, and that's really helpful. I have people that I talk to via text message almost every day, 3, 4 times a week at least, who are way ahead of me. I think that's really important. And then I have a whole bunch of guys who I talk to every day who are starting out, and I think that's the business that I've built. And I think having that, like every single day, I'm talking to somebody who's either starting out, who I can help, people who are at my level who I can strategize with, or whatever it is, and then people who are ahead of me who I can learn from. And I think that's the perfect setup. Is just any given time, if I wanted to, I could reach out to one of those groups and gain something from it.
Great.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you.
That's a good question, Steve. Good question. And I know you didn't ask me, but I'm still going to give you my answer quickly too. So, because it's very pertinent, because um, tomorrow I'm heading down to Bristol. So Steve will know where that is. Everybody else is kind of other end of the country, because I am meeting my group of guys. So we meet normally once a year and we do like a weekend together. Um, and it's for me, my 9 to 5 as CEO being a bit different from the kind of entrepreneurial world, but it's also a very, very lonely place at the top of a corporation. So having people that are in a similar position and you can just confide in and chat throughout the year, but then physically meet is like, it's the best thing. It was the one thing I put in my calendar for 2025 was that meeting on this weekend. But equally, I think that's why we've, tried to build a community here, right? I mean, you guys, that's kind of struggling with the same stuff. And I think that's what where the value is in. That's what Harrison was saying in terms of the incubator he's building, right? So dads who are trying very hard to use their skills from their 9 to 5 to build a different business, which is great to have. Obviously, Harrison lead that, and you've got a fantastic crew of people that are helping. But it's also just doing it with other people, so you don't feel, oh, it's just me, or like I'm the only one struggling with this thing. But actually, that was also the point of tonight, is to hear from somebody who's crushing it on so many fronts, and yet, as you heard, is struggling with a lot of the stuff that you guys are struggling with. So, to round this out, I would just want to say thank you very much for your time, for your wisdom, for your insights. I don't know what it is with your accent, Harrison, but I mean, if you were doing audiobooks, like you would be my number one like narrator of all time. I just love listening to your voice. So that was very soothing into my workday. So
Awesome.
yeah, thank you so much.
My country bumpkin roots can be valuable to you guys. Hey,
Awesome.
can I say one more thing, Toby? Sorry,
Of
guys.
course.
I know
Yeah.
we're running over, but
Yeah.
this is fun. I'll come, invite me again. I'm there, Toby.
Awesome.
Real quick, I don't want to scare anybody off of entrepreneurship, by making it sound like you have to work until 10 p.m. every night. I'll say that there have been times in my business where I had 4 hour work days. And that's why I get to the next level, is because when you're at a level and you've mastered it, you get to your time comes back to you. And what the journey is you getting to a level and deciding, like, do I want to stay here? In which case you can begin to get your time really dialed in. Like, there's been years in my business where I would go to the gym every morning at 9, and stay for 2 hours, and that was fine, and I could maintain. Where the work comes in, and that's what I don't want. I don't want to get it twisted. Like, there is a lot of work. Where that comes in is when you're really pushing to the next level. And so it's kind of like you're playing a video game or whatever, and you're like, got to beat the final boss. Well, once you beat that boss, like, you've leveled up and things get easier. And then you get to decide, do I want to play the next level, or do I want to stay where I am and explore?
That's awesome. I think that's really good for people to even say, because you were touching upon it at one point in terms of having a side business that's the 5 to 10K sort of month level, which for some people that's all they need, right? It's just a bit of extra income. They don't need to work that hard to build something that is multi six, multi seven figure business. So that's really good to know. Awesome. So I will obviously, you've talked about your incubator. I will link into that. I think people have gotten a good flavor. There's people that are in that already, so they know you. But we'll put links in it. What you were saying is you're building something that has a higher ROI than an MBA, but it's costing like a 20th of it, right? So for anybody who's interested in building their business as a busy dad and employing their 9 to 5 skills, I guess reach out, right?
Hey,
Website,
happy to chat
Instagram.
with anybody. Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm most likely to see it on LinkedIn. Hit me up on LinkedIn. That's where I'm spending a lot of my time these days.
Awesome. Good. Good. Make sure those connections are established. Great, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Again, Harrison, well done. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Toby. Good to meet
Thank
you
you.
guys.
Take care, guys. Bye bye.